Two coaches were at the centre of major events throughout round 20. The Demons, with their statement on Friday night, was led by Jack Viney too. Over in the West, their credentials absolutely reaffirmed. While Brisbane went to the MCG and put 42 points on Richmond early and looked away, only to be swallowed up by the Tigers late and lose a place in the top four as a result. So Chris Fagan and Simon Goodwin are with us on Coaches Night. Chris, great to have you with us.
Thanks, Jared. Mark.
Simon, nice to have you at the desk.
Jared, Robbo, good to be here.
All right, so the post-mortem, Chris, how do you approach the day after? What have you been through?
Yeah, so we won't meet with the players until tomorrow morning, but obviously had a look at the tape. It was with mixed emotions that I watched it, because I thought in the first half we played our best football for the season easily. It was really outstanding brand that we played, both offensively and defensively, and then the Tigers were able to work their way back into the game in the second half, and we end up losing by not much, but pretty disappointing result in the end after a really positive start, but something I think we can build on.
When you lose momentum and lose control of the game, Fags, which happened yesterday, is it the job for the coach and the coaching staff to arrest that momentum, or is it a job for the leaders on the ground to take care of their business? Because the question is, has the Lions got enough leaders on the ground to say, right, this is what we have to do?
It's a combination of both, Robbo. You know, you want your leaders to stand up in those moments and understand what needs to be done, and we certainly do a lot of work with our leaders around that. And then from the coach's box, we might try to do some things tactically that might help that process. So, I mean, our leaders have been good at that in the past in a number of games. Yesterday we came up a little bit short, but confident that we've got the players who can make those calls out on the field and get it right.
Do you listen to the outside noise? And I asked that question, Fags, because the post-mortem from all analysts, or most analysts, Brisbane can't win it. They just cannot win the flag anymore, even though you pushed Richmond really, really hard in a half. What do you say to that? Does that worry you? Does it frustrate you? Do you address that with the players' confidences?
No, I understand that people want to comment on the game and that they've got to have strong opinions, because that's why people want to watch and listen to media. So fully understand that, but we can't get caught up in that. I mean, this time last year, I think we had to win our last 3 games to finish in the top 4, and even that wasn't guaranteed. I think that happened in the last 2 minutes of the game. So you know, you just take each week as it comes. It's a really tough and tight competition, and if we can get back to our really best form, which we showed a strong glimpse of yesterday in the first half, then there's no reason why we can't be really competitive come September. You know, we're not a perfect team. We've got strengths and weaknesses like every other team, but when we play at our best, we're pretty hard to beat, as people saw in the first half yesterday.
The boldest voices, Simon, were prepared to almost put the pen through Melbourne's premiership credentials. Are you taking any of that in?
Oh, not at all. No, very similar to Chris. You know, I think, you know, you get judged on over a period of time, but also there's a reaction externally from a week-to-week perspective. And, you know, our turn was in the last few weeks, but internally we know we're tracking in the right direction. You know, since the bye, we've won 4 out of the last 6. And we think we've been able to adjust and make some changes in our game that we'll think will stand up at the end. So, yeah, I think there's a reaction from a weekly perspective, but we generally look at it from a bit bigger picture than just that.
So when did you know? So you leave Melbourne, everyone's going, oh, Melbourne, 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 and we're looking at them. You're not in the groove that you want to be. Did you know? When did you realise that, yes, your team had found the Melbourne groove? If Damien Hardwick says the Richmond way, the Melbourne groove. When did you know you could see it or feel it in the game?
I think we played a game up against Port Adelaide a few weeks ago in Alice Springs, and there were some really good signs in that game that we're starting to get back to some of the form that we know we can play. The Bulldogs game was very disappointing, but in the first 5 minutes on the weekend, the first 10 minutes, you could see there was a real intensity and urgency about the way we defend.
In what? In the contest
or
what?
Contest and the way we defend it. You know, our game is underpinned by that you know, and we've built that over a period of time, and you could see that intensity and urgency in our players, and you know, through their training and the lead up to the game, and obviously came out and produced it really early in the game, and that breeds belief, it builds confidence, and we're able to sustain it for 4 quarters right through the game.
It's a team effort, but you've got to have individuals who lead the way. There was some footage of you hugging, kissing, whatever you do to Jack Viney. He deserved everything you gave him on Friday night. Do you say, what's the relationship between a coach and a key player like Viney, like you and Oliver? What you and Jack in a game like that, what do you say to him, or what do you ask of him before the game?
Oh, you rely on your leaders a lot, and Jack's one of those guys, and you want your leaders to have their strengths that thrive and to execute their role to a really high level, and Jack's built for those type of games. He's built for the contest, he's built for big-time footy, and he's able to execute again on Friday night, and he's an exceptional leader of our footy club because he does it in the moments that matter, and he does it in games that matter, and he plays the right way, and we're really proud of him.
Chris, the aspect of your game that while you were talking, we ran some of the numbers around points conceded since round 10, points conceded from the defensive half, and being the team that's most easily scored against once inside 50. Are those measures on your mind at the moment? Are you delving deep? Are you trying to sharpen the defensive aspects of the game up?
Absolutely, Jared. It's probably been the main focus of training over the last 6 weeks. And there's been games in the last month where we've done really well. I mean, the Dogs game not so long ago, I think we kept them to around 9 goals for the game. They usually score quite highly. We had a good game against the Giants in that regard. But in between times, we've had some other games where we've conceded, you know, too much. So it's a work in progress for us. We have had you know, a fair turnover of players, particularly in our back line since the Melbourne game. I think we've had 14 different players down there play for various reasons. Not that defence is just about the back line, but we haven't had a lot of continuity with our boys. So hopefully we can sort of build that back up over the next few weeks and have the same 7 or 8 players playing there each week.
I know you didn't want to answer this after the match phase, but I want to ask you, why did you go with the big fella as the medi sub? Yeah,
we've done that a few times this year. Basically, we go into the game with one ruckman, and if you lose him, you can be a little bit concerned about that. But you know, Darcy Fort can go forward and release Dan McStay to go down back if we lose a tall back. And I was a little worried about Richmond's tall forwards in Rewalt, Lynch and Bolter. So they're the sort of things that go through your head. In hindsight, and this is no disrespect to Darcy Fort because he went on and played his role when he had to replace Zach Bailey, but you know, it was the wrong call in hindsight. We needed another running player, and you know, we sort of lost Kadeem Coleman and Jared Berry pretty early in the last quarter as well. So that even compounded it more. But that's just the way it goes from time to time. And you know, sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong. It's probably safer always to pick a running type player. But that was the decision that we went with, and we've done that a couple of times this year.
How is Zach Bailey?
He spent the night in hospital. He got out this morning. He's recovered well. He's back in Brisbane as we speak. I reckon he'd just be arriving here now. So I think he'll be fine this week. It was just that he was coughing up a bit of blood, and that's not a good sign when that's happening, or you've got to be really careful when you see that. But as it turned out, it wasn't anything of huge significance, which is more than anything pleasing for Zach and his health.
Chris, from the long term, so you've had a team in the top 4 for 3 years. You are fighting tooth and nail for that now. Are you unconditionally committed to coaching the Lions next year?
Yes, Jared, sorry. I am. I've got a contract for next year, and you know, hopefully the team can continue to do well, and that the club is keen to keep me for a while longer. But yeah, no, I love coaching the Lions, and that's what I'll be doing next year, unless somebody knows something that I don't know.
So you're not making any private plans to hand the job over to an old colleague?
Well, it's not my job to hand over in the first place, so no is the firm answer to that question.
And in the scope of the job, so this is not the end of the Lions run. It feels to me like having lived in the top four, that you are actually developing and opening up the possibilities. Without putting words in your mouth, is in this journey, next year's not the end point, is it?
No, not as far as I'm concerned. I just take each year as it comes and do the best job that we can. I think the group that we've got here, their best football is definitely ahead of them. I know it sounds like, oh, you've been in the top four the last 3 years, and maybe we get there again, and that maybe your time is passing you by. But we've got a young group who are developing and getting a great range of experiences at the moment, and some of them is disappointment, but that's what hardens you and makes you better when the time comes. And Goody's only too familiar with that process. Sometimes you just got to go through it. You just can't go straight through, nice trajectory, straight to the top, win the premiership. It takes time and effort. They're hard to win, very, very hard to win, and often the last few steps are the toughest.
How's your contract going? If we're going to be talking contracts, we might as well throw yours
You're
on
just
the...
locked away.
I've just locked away for a couple of years.
For a couple more?
Couple more.
Is it a hard job, coaching? We've got a couple of minutes here to talk about it. Chris Scott said something last year, it's a really difficult job, it's a hard job. I can understand why his brother's not doing it. Is it a difficult job, Goody? And bearing in mind, you've got to coach, you've got to manage the psychology of players, and then you've got media writing stories about you and about the outside life. Is the pylon... Is it tough existence?
I think there's an intensity that comes with our industry, both internally as a coach. There's a lot of stuff that you've got to deal with, but also externally. And there's an intensity about how we have to deal with it. And I think the longer that you're in the game, the more you can start to deal with the stresses, the pressures and the anxieties that sit within our industry, and you understand what the industry is about. And it's a tough caper, but one I love.
But you struggled with it for a while, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. And I did. But as a young coach, you come in and you think you know everything. You think you know how the industry works, but then you soon work out that you're not bulletproof, and you need to make some change. You need to understand what's important in the game and where you need to give your energy to. And I had to go through that journey personally, but I'm very fortunate. I love coaching. I love what I do. It's always what I wanted to do, and I feel fortunate to be in the position I'm in.
So when you're coaching, you're trying to look at improvement at yourself, your own. You go away and study and try and do it. Is that really a major point of your coaching, or is it all about improving the players and the people? Not just the players, the people at the club.
I think the thing about coaching is you've got to role model what you want your department to look like, and we want everyone in our department, whether that's people working within our footy department or players, to improve in what they do, and I'm no different. So my ability to go away and improve myself personally, whether that's how I deal in certain situations, whether that's how I learn, is really important to show our playing group and to show our people that you're never satisfied, you can always get better.
Is it different at coaching the defending Premier?
I think it's the ultimate expectation. We know that if we aren't successful this year, it'll be seen as a failure. But internally, there's so many other things that we need to get right and not focus on that. But winning under the ultimate expectation is what you want to be a part of, because they're hard to win. As Chris said, it's hard to win, and it's a tough industry to be involved in. But the challenge that sits within that is real, and we're embracing it, and we're looking forward to it.
So there's a lot to look forward to on Friday night, and there's an additional aspect to it. It's the gym style. It's the reach game.
Do you know them?
What
are we doing with these? We're putting them on, are we?
Well, be like Jim is the motto, and rather cleverly, the QR code's right there on the badge.
I always have
look,
trouble
it's a
with
great
it.
cause. Jim has left an amazing legacy, not only for our footy club, but for the community. The Reach Foundation is just such an inspirational foundation where it helps troubled youths and helps adolescents find their way through a really difficult part of their life. And it's important for us and important for everyone to keep Jim's legacy going. And it's a great game to be a part of, and we're looking forward to Friday night and everyone donating kindly.
So round for Reach info, text Jim to 0473 000 111, or use that QR code which is on the screen there and will feature on the badges on the night. We'll keep our conversation going with our coaches next. Chris Fagan from Brisbane, Simon Goodwin from Melbourne with us in the studio. And then tomorrow night, a couple of the high flyers of the competition. They're a bit banged up after the events of the weekend. Jack Riewoldt and Jeremy Howe is going to make his debut on Players' Night.
The Moment, brought to you by PointsBet.
I've been so lucky over the journey. not only with this group of boys that we've got right here now, but just the whole journey, mate, right from the start. And I'm blessed to be able to come to this club, call it work, and just have a smile on my face the whole time.
How good does that look? How well is that done? I mean, football is a team game, but it is played by individuals who contribute of their own blood, sweat and tears to the cause, and to be able to be acknowledged in that arena and in that cauldron of his own accord without even his teammates around. That's it's pretty special, isn't it?
Yeah, I've been a little bit emotional the whole week, really, and it's as much as anything because it's a chance to actually reflect on how lucky we've all been to be a small part of Joel's career. I'm still pinching myself every day walking into the Geelong Footy Club. It'd be nice to be able to, tell my kids and grandkids one day that I spent a lot of time with Joel Selwood. It's a real privilege.
Every club seeks to honour its greats, and Geelong, it was their turn on Saturday night. What do you think looking at those scenes, Simon?
Oh, it's just brilliant for our game. You speak about legacy and what Joel Selwood's been able to create down at Geelong for the community and the respect that they show him and how much he's loved by his players and club internally. He's just a special player and has enormous success for one club.
And Chris, we haven't known footy for nearly 2 decades without David Mundy, so it's going to be a new experience for all of us. A salute to one of the players of great longevity. What is he? 371 games with a few to come.
Yeah, remarkable player. And, I think he started out as a half-back flanker, but ended up as a big-bodied midfielder. His kicking ability has always been the standout for him, and he's always been a really good endurance type of player and pretty special around the stoppages. So he's had a great career, and he deserves every accolade that comes his way, as Shane Edwards did yesterday, who played his 300th game with the Tigers. Pretty understated sort of a guy, but he gets the job done, and I'm sure he is pretty pleased. I wasn't pleased, but I'm sure he is pretty pleased the Tigers won yesterday.
You both got a couple of players you might believe and might be staying. They've been in the media for quite some time, McStay and Jackson. Have you have put yourself in a situation where you've said to Luke, let's have a chat. If you're leaving, it's okay. It's okay. I need you for 8 weeks, 10 weeks. I said the same thing about McStay in Brisbane. Have you had to have that, or have you had that conversation with Luke about just focusing on the next period of time before he makes a decision?
Yeah, look, I've had some great chats with Luke and some real honest chats about we just want him to perform for the Melbourne Footy Club, however long that may be. And that's what our focus has been, whether that's 10 weeks, whether that's the next 10 years. And he's been really open about having those discussions, and he's fully committed to Melbourne for that period of time. And our responsibility as a club is to be mature in our approach towards that and get the best out of Luke for however long he's at our footy club. And those conversations have been had with Luke. He's embraced it. He needs time to make his decision. And
so you don't know?
No, we don't. We don't know.
Max was really strong on it today. I don't know if you heard what Max said.
I think when you listen to Max, we actually don't know what the situation looks like, and we've said to Luke all along, you take as much time as you need. This is a big decision. He's 21. He's got a chance to go home at some stage throughout his career, and he's got a footy club that he loves at the moment. So it's a big decision for him to make.
Have you had a similar conversation with Daniel McStay, Fags?
Yeah, Rob, I've had a couple of chats to Daniel during the season, much the same as Goody. I mean, these are challenging times for players, and they've got to make decisions about their futures. And I just wanted to make sure that Daniel felt supported, and also to encourage him that he just play the best football he can for the rest of the year, and whatever decision he makes at the end, he makes. Hopefully he decides to stay with the Lions, but if he doesn't, he's given us great service, and we're grateful for what he's contributed to the club.
Chris, would we benefit from a system that allowed the player to make his intentions known and then put it all aside and settle back into the task at hand?
It probably seems the mature way to do it. I just don't know whether we're ready for that, and whether all clubs will be comfortable. I mean, some players might feel like if they say they're going, that would, endanger their chances perhaps for selection for the rest of the year, or the club might turn in a different direction. I don't know whether we've arrived at that level of maturity with football yet. I'd like to think so. Certainly at our club, I think that's the case. I'd be interested to see what Goody thinks about that, but that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I think from our perspective, we're sort of at that stage as well where we'd hope that players feel comfortable to have those type of conversations internally. And as I said, that's in the end, that's how our industry works. Players move clubs, and clubs will find ways to get their club better themselves. So to have those conversations is fine, but really it is about how we maximise performance internally, and that's all we do think about as coaches.
And if Adam Muse happened to get the GWS job, he would stay on as assistant coach all through this finals series?
Yeah, absolutely. He's passionate about what he's doing at Melbourne right now, and clearly, if he's fortunate enough to get the GWS job, we'd
You don't kick him out and say, see you later?
Absolutely. No, he's committed to Melbourne right through to this end of this season, and would be very proud of Adam if he was happy to get that GWS job.
I want to go to an incident with Fags, if I can. Fags, yesterday, last thing on this last moment on the game yesterday. Dermot Brereton spoke brilliantly last night about the incident in the last quarter where a free kick was paid for a push in the goal square when the ball went through. I think it was Clint McCarthy's goal. How did that sit with you? Because Dermot said, and I agree with him, so much happens in goal squares as balls go over their heads, and he got pinged for a free kick for a push. What was your reaction? And seriously, and a day later, what's your thoughts on that decision?
Yeah, so I was a little confused at the time because I didn't actually see the free kick. But I did see that the umpire had called for a score review, and I was looking up at the screen and thinking that's a goal, which would have been pretty handy at the time. So I was a little confused about what was going on when I saw the free kick being paid, because I wondered, well, what do we have a review for? So I did check in with the official that sits between the two coaches' box post-game, and he did explain it to me in that I think it was an umpire. One umpire saw and paid the free kick, whereas the other umpire was communicating with the goal umpire who'd called for a review. So looking at it today, the umpire paid a push in the back. It was arguably there, I suppose, but I could see why things panned out the way that they did. Yeah, so I understand it fully, and I've got no problems with it.
You've got a future in diplomacy, international diplomacy, with that sort of line.
Yeah.
They're big games ahead. Chris, the very best of luck on Sunday against Carlton. So a couple of angry teams to go at it with big stakes to play for.
Yes, both teams will be no doubt at their best, and it'll be a great clash. There's a big final series before the finals this year, really, isn't it?
And this might be the biggest Melbourne-Collingwood game for generations.
Yeah, it's going to be a cracker. Collingwood have won 10 in a row. We're hoping to get 85, 90,000 at the MCG, and it's it's not topping. You get second v third, round 21 at the MCG with 85, 90,000. So we're looking forward to it.